Hello, I'm Anna, the Yarn Randomizer, and today what we're going to try to do is I'm going to show kind of how I'm going to sew this emotional support chicken together. So I have been knitting for a long time, more than 42 years, yeah, and I've done a lot of sewn pieced work in that time, and I also had the good fortune of taking a finishing class, which I highly recommend to everybody, is to take a class about finishing knitwear, and it'll really make a difference in your work. And so one of the things I want to talk about here is one of the most important things about finishing your knits is how you go about sewing this together. Now, traditionally, of course, with sewing, you sew things together inside out. Basically, you sew the right sides, you put the right sides together, and you sew it, and then, you know, you have that seam that way. But that's not the way you do it with knitting. With knitting, and I need to make sure I have a pair of scissors around here somewhere, you do a slightly different approach, and that is you always sew these things together from the right side. That is, when I go to sew these pieces together, I will be having the right side of both pieces facing me as I put it together. All right, so let me grab a pair of scissors. Forgotten those. Odo has come in to watch the proceedings. All right. So I am going to just kind of muddle through this. I'm going to do basically the same thing I did with my other chicken. I'm not going to worry a whole lot about the ends since they're all going to be inside, and I might untie them. I have a tendency to tie them together so they don't slip when I'm knitting. I can't even remember if I did that with them the last time, but what we're going to do is just, I'll show you what I do with this one, and hopefully without too many mistakes and stuff, it might be useful to you to see how I go about it. Now, so we'll start with the beak, and so you can see we're here, and I'm trying to make sure that we can be seen on the video. So on the beak, it's a little different than the rest of it. The beak is actually in stockinette. So you can see, this chain of stitches here, and you see, same thing over here, there's this chain of stitches here on the outer edge. Now, typically for anything that's stockinette, I always like to use that kind of divide between the last two columns of stitches is my way of going about sewing this together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look here, and so for example, see these two bars here? I'm going to pull that through there, and then I'm going to look at the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Typically, I like to look for a couple of bars. And what you want to happen is where it's coming out on one side, you want that to go in on the other side exactly where you want it to line up. I'm going to start with that. Now I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to see here, again, looking to go between those two stitches and pull this together again and again. I'm looking for, in this case, a couple of bars to go between. Now, we're getting close to the end. We're on like the last stitch there. So I'm going to do this here. Again, looking for a couple of bars. Whoops. And my yarn decided to wrap around the top of the chicken beak. And then same thing here. And maybe, yeah, that'll be fine. Now, let's see how that, so what you do is you do that mattress stitch, and then what you do is you pull it tight. But be careful here. Hopefully I didn't pull it too tight there. There we go. So I think that's pretty good. That came together pretty well and stuff. And you'll see it a little bit better as we go further, but I think that's produced a good beak. I made a mistake on this beak in the type of reductions on one side, I think, for at least one or two of the rows, so you don't have the same defined line here, but in the big scheme of things, I don't think that's a big deal. Now, what I think I want to do is I'm just going to leave this yellow inside. I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm going to take, well, actually, you know what? I may just start with a fresh piece of the blue. I think since the majority of this is going to be this blue color, I want to use that to sew it together. And I would swear, oh yeah, there's my scissors. Let's see, so I'm not going to worry a whole lot about length. Cut off a piece. All right. And I'm in the habit of misplacing things here right now. I'm going to get this started. And the nice thing about this project is you don't have to worry a whole lot about where your ends are. They're just going to end up inside. So, and again, other folks may be yelling at the video camera, going like, you're doing this all wrong. And I might be. But I think the results came out pretty well last time. So I'm going to go with the same approach this time. So now here, now they do have a video on doing these from the Knitting Tree LA, and I think it's worth taking a look at that. And frequently in finishing classes related to garter stitch, they frequently tell you to basically you kind of use the bumps here on the outer edge. Personally, I am going to think of this again as going through and doing like this single, like the bars between the stitches. Now in this case, the bar will sometimes be on the outside, not underneath. All right, and we'll come here and do the same thing here. And with all these threads, I can hardly see what I got going on here. And I think I will grab those two there. All right, there. Now again, holding all these copious stitches out of the way, I'm going to grab a couple more over here. And now I'm going to give some thought to where this red starts. So I'm going to do two here again. I'm coming close to the beginning of the red. And so I want this to come here, and I'm going to grab that first red stitch from underneath. Now, you can see the back and forth I have here of the mattress stitch I've been doing. I'm going to kind of cinch that up. And let's make sure, yeah, I think that's good. All right, so I've got that cinched up now. And we'll continue on. So now I can see where my stitch came out here, and I'm coming out just about exactly where I want to go in here. This is so messy with all these threads in here. I'll try to make sure I don't catch those. Now I want this red stripe to line up. And let's take a look at where we were going here. And again, I'm doing a whole stitch on the outside, not just the bumps, top level bumps of the garter. So I'm going to go there. All right. Okay, I'm going to look for that again here. Okay. stitches. Oops. I can hear my husband chatting to the dog out there. I don't know if you can hear that. Oops, I'm getting a little tangled up here. All right. I'm getting close to the bottom of this, of the red. I want to think a little bit about where I want this to line up. So sometimes you'll skip a bar, just as long as you're doing what you want to make it line up. And then, so I'm coming out there. I think what I'll do here is come in here. Let's see now. I've got a knot here, and I want to make sure. Oh yeah, there is a red there. Let's try. I don't feel like that's enough, so we'll try this right here. And again, I'm ending up weaving this together. All right, let's take a look and see how that pulls together. There we go. And again, you want to pull this so that it brings it together, but you don't want to keep pulling so that it gathers it up. So I think that is good there. If I really pull on this, you can see where I'm sewing the blue together, but it should be good enough for how the chicken will look in the long run. Now, let's see, actually, I need to, I've got my progressives on. I wish I had my reading glasses on here, but okay, so I'm going to, again, come through here and grab a couple of stitches. Oh, and we're sewing it together up to where these markers are here. So, let's see, does that look right? Yeah, that looks okay. Do another couple of stitches there. And now let's take a look. I think that's good there. Now, let's do this. A couple here. And it looks like we're just above the line for the switch over to the next color, so I'll catch that there. And then we will do, let's do that. Again, typically I like to grab a couple of bars between the two columns of stitches. And now let's pull this together again. All right, that's pretty good, pretty decent. All right, one more stripe to do. Right at the top of the stripe, so I'm going to go here, there we go. What would be funny is if there was a whole bunch of response videos showing me how I'm doing this all wrong. It's like I'm not too worried about it. Good enough for what this is meant for. All right, so I'm down there. I think I'm going to slip down a row here, maybe. I'm trying to decide. Actually, I will stick up here. Let's see, let's grab that one there. Maybe a little bit off. Okay, so right before that bump. And now this next one will be catching into the last red that's going across there. And then I'll do the same here. Let's see how this lines up. I think that's okay. It probably could be shifted a little bit, but again, good enough. Now, we're interested in coming up to this. Let me see where my last stitch came out. It's right around here. Let's see. do that. And then make sure if you go a little bit outside where you wanted to be, or that kind of stuff, again, in the big scheme of things, this is a chicken. It'll be all right. Now, oh, and I hear Odo grumbling at me. I may have to take a short break here. All right. Now, again, typically grabbing a couple of bars. There. All right, and then I think this pretty much gets me down to that marker. Same on this side. Okay, let's pull this together. Oh, something's hanging that up. Oh. I think, did I sew this through itself? There's something going on here. So let's pull this back a little bit. Yeah, I think I sewed a strand through itself, which is going to bring it to a grinding halt pretty quickly. So let me pull that back out and rethread it. All right, now let's take a look. So we want to watch out for that. So we're going to move this. I'm going to bring this down here like this. Now let's take a look. Yeah. All right. So I think we've brought that together pretty well. I'm going to take these two markers off. All right, and I'm going to leave this strand here for later, and we're going to do a quick pause and get ready to do the tail. All right, now we're ready for the next step, and we are going to, we've got the front done, and we're going to try sewing this tail together. And I've cut off another length of the blue yarn. And so again, the whole idea here is that we will be sewing this together from the outside. So first thing I'm going to do is, I think, again, I like to tend to have a whole stitch on the outside. So I'm going to start from here, kind of in the seam. I think a lot of traditional garter stitch finishing classes, like if you were going to look at this, would have you sew from like bump to bump from side to side. And we might do that here along the bottom, but we've got a kind of a varying set of stitches going on here on each side. So I'm just focusing on keeping one stitch in the seam and just trying to make things line up. So I'm going to come over here and grab a couple of bars. Hello, Odo. All right. Let's see there, enough extra. All right. Now, let's go to the next couple of bars. Here, I'm wanting to make this kind of fold. So I'm going to kind of pull this a little tight right now, and I want this stitch at the top to be kind of over the the bottom edge of this. So let's try pulling that again and pull it from the inside also. Okay, well, I think that's good enough. So I keep kind of sewing through the loop here. I've got to kind of keep this loop up out of the way. Okay, so there's that one. Yeah. All right. Let's do here. There. And I think I'm maybe a little out of alignment here, but let's take a look. And again, if we're not exactly where we want to be, there. Pull that together. All right. So now we've got these sections to bring together from here to here. So let's just work our way down that. Often when I tighten up, I'll kind of pull this back open a little bit again. Picking up 3 bars there, but that's all right. Let's see, I'm going to skip down one. Let's do, now here you can see we're almost at these, those just look like regular stitches, so we're not where these short rows were happening. Okay, let's take a look at how this is looking. All right. See if I can bring a little more light over from this side. All right. I'm thinking I might skip one there. Go here. Let's see how that's lining up. I think I'll do a skip one there again. And I'll do a skip on this side. All right. Another skip. Let's try to get a look at this. Sometimes it's a little tricky to see exactly what's going on, but if you can get your needle in there and under there, you can pull it up, pull up what's going on. All right. Yeah, I don't see, that looks like a single stitch there. I think I'll just grab that right there. It's a little bit different here where the short rows are. Okay, I'm going to snug this up again. Okay, and again, snug it up, watch the seam be pulled together, but you don't want to keep pulling and draw it together this way. That's the thing you want to avoid. All right, let's see where we're at here. See, I'm going to grab those 2 strands and grab these 2. This might be a long, slow video as far as how I'm going about sewing this together. I think I'm going to pick an extra, well, maybe not. I'll just do that. Again, it's not like there's some kind of exacting formula here. I'm just kind of like trying to pick where I think it looks decent. And again, some areas are weird. You get in here and it's kind of like, what exactly is going on here? I think I'm going to bring it through that. All right, right at that seam. Do the same thing here. All right, let's bring that together again. All right, see that? There's the seam. And if you really look, see how you can see the strand is just going back and forth, holding these two sides together. It's really, if you're familiar with sewing at all, you're really just doing, it's called mattress stitch, but it's really, once you pull it together, it's sort of like a running stitch. If you think about it, like what it ends up looking like when you pull it together. Okay, now, see, I am going to reach, see one strand there, maybe I want something for there. That's two strands right there. All right, and let's pick up a couple. Maybe that way. Single one there again. Bump the my phone while I'm trying to do this. Okay, let's draw this together again. All right. I might see what we got floating around in here. That stitch is a little open. I might tidy that up, if you can see it right there. We'll see. All right, let's go to the next. Let's see what's going on here. Again, I'm not doing this perfectly by any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to get it to come together decently. Let's take a look. I'm going to bring that to there. I feel like this has gotten, let's see, there's that. I'm going to pick up, is that one strand? There's two strands right there. All right. And I'm going to try to grab a little bit more over here. I feel like I'm not quite getting proportional over there. There, maybe that right there. All right, now yeah, it's definitely seaming, particularly in these circumstances, like these kinds of edges and stuff, is not always going to be a matter of. And so you see I'm off. I feel like I'm definitely a little off there, but I think I can bring it together a little bit. So let's take a look at where we are down here. Let's just pick up actually right there. All right, and let's go a little further here. Yeah. grab that one. I keep catching other parts of the tail in the loop. And now do that. And here things are a little funky. All right, I'm going to do where do I want this to start lining up? I think I'll do that right there. All right. And again, good enough. All right. Now we want to get this seam together as we continue on the tail. All right. Now, where was the last? Okay, there it is right there. And I'm going to do that there. And then on this side, let's take a look. Yeah, things seem a little like there's a little something funky going on here. But I think I will grab that. All right. That there. Yeah, this is a little, I'm going to grab these 3 strands here. It's a little different as it transitions from a little bit of straight edge to those short rows again. I'm going to do that. Now let's see if we can bring that. Okay. I think that's okay. I guess the main thing is don't worry about whether you're doing this perfectly. You know, try to come up with a systematic way to look at kind of what's going on and figure out, you know, how to do it. Go back and forth in such a way and keep it in line. Try to stay kind of in a sort of a consistent pattern where it can be. But again, bottom line, really, kind of once it all comes together, you just want it to look like it came together evenly. And that's really good enough. Okay. All right, we'll pull that back a little bit so I can see where I left off here. I'm going to pick up those 3. And I'm going to pick up 3 on this side. There. I mean, the bottom line is once you've got it sewn together, nobody's going to be picking that seam apart and criticizing how you brought it together. And I think for the most part, just doing this mattress stitch from the outside, not the inside, is really all the magic you need to do this well. And let's take a look. Yeah, I'll grab those 2. Some people will do one strand, and I guess personally I feel like sometimes that isn't particularly secure. But it might, again, if it ends up looking okay, comes out evenly, it's probably good enough. My main concern with sewing this together was the fact that you've got a couple of colors going on. And so I was worried about I didn't want to use the same color for the stripe section. Those red sections are short enough that I think they're not a big deal if you're not matching the stripe. And really, you see that I sewed this together with the blue, and you really don't see it. And so I think that'll be fine. I worry that when you're using one strand from each side, maybe it'd be a bigger chance for the contrasting color to show, but that might not be the case. Okay. Let's see if I can let this yarn untwist a little bit. There we go. All right. Now, I'm sure there are people who've sewn a lot more stuffies than I have, who might have better techniques for bringing this kind of thing together. And I'd encourage you to search out there and look for other examples of bringing these types of pieces together, and kind of see what different people are doing. Let's see. Oh, this is a cast, I think this is a cast off edge I'm working on here. All right, just a little bit further, and I think once we get to the end of this piece, we are on putting this kind of football shaped piece in place. Okay, so I'm going to continue looking for a couple of strands here. Yep, I've kind of looped around myself again. And let's see, I think that will be sufficient there. All right, and another pair of stitches. All right, and I want to make sure this ends up evening up. So let's kind of give this a pull. See how it's lining up right now. So you can see those back and forth threads there. All right, I've got just a little bit left here. Okay. All right. I think one last couple of stitches here. Oh my goodness, okay. All right. So I did finish up putting the bottom of the tail together. And this is my strand that's left from that, and I've got where I came down to the stitch markers on the front. So the next thing I need to do is get in this piece into this area. So to help with that, I'm going to use a few T-pins to kind of hold this together. So I'm going to start here, just a little, just enough to tack it together here and here. It kind of will give me a target as far as evening out the stitches along these edges, kind of keep things lined up. All right. Just do. Now, I think my idea is to sew this seam together and then sew this one down here and leave like a small opening on this part temporarily so I can stuff her, and then we'll sew that together. So I am going to start from back here. Let's see, not this strand, but this strand. And pardon me, I have this needle. There. Okay. Now, so again, I'm going to go along here, pardon me, and try to look for kind of this last stitch. I think maybe I'll start right there. And then we'll do the same thing here. That may be a little tricky at the beginning. Let's try it like that. All right, and I'm going to continue along. Trying to decide if I want to catch this bump or not, so maybe we'll do it like that. So I'm going to do 3 there, and I think I will skip just a little bit right here. There's the easiest type of seaming to do, generally, at least this is my experience, is when you have at least a single stitch of stockinette. Let's see if we can pull this together. There we go. There. A single stitch of stockinette at the edges. Now let's take a look at this again. I'm going to do it like this here. Right there. Again, this may be far from perfect. I don't know if you guys can hear my chicken. So while I'm sewing together this chicken here, I think my chicken outside is doing a what they call egg song, is letting me know that she's laid an egg. How appropriate. I'll have to see if I can actually hear it on the recording. Okay, I'm going to do that. And that. That. Pardon me. There, and let's take a look at where we're at here. So that's not looking too bad there. All right. Let's do that. That. I actually live next to two farm fields out here. So a big one across this really large one across the street, and then another one just west of us. And so this time of year, now it's raining a little bit today. Okay, let's see how this looks. Yeah, I think that looks okay. Pardon me. All right. It's raining a little bit today, which I think is cut down on the kind of spring planting that they'd normally be doing right now. But yeah, it can get pretty busy out here with farm equipment outside, which I don't mind at all. One downside of being east of a farm field is that we have nothing that blocks the wind that comes towards our house from the west. And so, I think I want to do this here. We get a lot of buffeting on the west side of the house as a result. Okay, I think this is okay so far. Hoping this will take me the rest of the way around. Now, let's see. I always like to look to see where that's coming out. There's a couple there. And let's see, I think I'll right there do. There's nothing to line this stripe up with on this side, it's just along the bottom. So I'll just take it as it comes up. Right. Let's see. Okay, let's try that. Snug this up again. All right. Okay. Pardon me. Let's see where we're at. Let's do right there. You notice that it can look a little loosey-goosey as you continue building stitches, but once everything is cinched up, it generally looks pretty good. I think mainly the problem people have is if they are sewing these together as if it were like a sewing seam, like where you're holding the right sides together and sewing through both layers, like you're using a sewing machine. And that, I think, is when you can't really, it's very hard to see kind of where you're going. Here I can always take a look, see if I'm catching a couple of stitches, you know, deciding kind of exactly how I want this placed here. Yeah, I'm still kind of fudging around the edge of this football shaped piece here. Let's do this here. There. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there who are extremely experienced amigurumi makers. Or I've really only done a limited amount of that type of knitting. And so I think people who are much more practiced at it probably have some, I would assume, some great videos and some great tips on how to do this well. Okay. Again, I make this video a little sheepishly, so to speak, because I'm just kind of doing it like I would always do it, and hopefully there's not some even more experienced knitter watching this and being horrified by how I'm approaching this. Again, bottom line is, how does it look at the end? Does it look okay? Okay, looks okay. There, yeah, I'm thinking that I want to, maybe that. All right, let's try this. All right. Just a little ways to go here on this one side. Sometimes this makes me think a little bit of one of my husband's and I's favorite program is called Roadkill, and they have another one called Roadkill Garage, and we really like watching them work on cars. And one of the hosts of the show has a t-shirt that says don't get it right, just get it working, sort of thing. And maybe it's a similar philosophy going on here. All right. All right, so we've got a good chunk of that together. And let's get this last little bit. And then once we get this bit, we'll take this other string and work down till we have maybe just a few inches left to go there. And then I'll go about stuffing it. And now, the only problem I have is I'm kind of doing this blind. I cannot see my camera screen on my phone, and so I'm hoping that this is all coming out okay. I might be in for a rude awakening when I actually look at this video, but we'll find out. Let's see. There. It looks like I need to kind of, I may have this a little misproportioned, so let's see where I'm at here. Let's grab a couple there. One of the ways to kind of fudge it a little bit is I can take like a single stitch here, but see how that pulls that out a little bit, but we'll see how that looks. See, I'm gonna do an extra here, and then we'll do a couple right there. Let's pull that together. It'll be fine. Let's see, I'm gonna skip one and do this, and do this. Again, skip one and do this, and do this. Let's see how that's coming together. So I'm kind of spreading this side out to line up with this side a little bit. And then, let's see, go a little bit further here. And let's just do that. And then this. And then that. And then this. And I'm going to do one on this side again. All right, I'm going to pull this. Yeah, this is the strand I want to work with. And that is a leftover strand. So I'm going to, this will bring me right to where that existing strand is. And so let's actually do this. And I'm going to kind of run this inside a little ways to give it some friction. Again, I'm not worried about trimming these things up so much. The threads can just hang out inside. All right, so that takes care of one side of that. Now let's see about the other. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do some pinning here so that we can kind of target being a little better at being even than I was that time. Let's see, do a little bit there. And here. I think that's good enough, and we'll leave this, like from this red back to here, open for the purposes of stuffing this. All right. If I find the video is capturing it but a little off center, I will try to adjust the centering. I guess you'll find out when you see it if I was able to do that. All right. So now we are going to work down along this side. Excuse me. Let's see if we can spot. I'm thinking I'll catch that and this, and we'll see how that works out. Right. Those two. There. Pardon me, actually I think I'm going to open this back here. All right. I'm just looking at a stray, okay, that's just a stray thread in there. I wanted to make sure I didn't have a loop of this stuck in there. All right. Again, there's where my thread's going in. And again, you don't have to go exactly in where you came out. You can skip one, and that works fine too. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, that'll get me a couple of strands. Okay, do that. I think I do want to come in a little bit here. Right. There. Let's try that and see how that looks. Again, you can see I've got threads going back and forth there. And you pull it up. It's almost like a magic trick, really. All right, let's take this pin out. I think I want it right there. And so, yeah, I've got 2 more chickens that I would like to make. The tricky thing is the last one I want to make is using a single ply yarn, which may not want to tolerate kind of this type of tugging up as much, but we'll see how that works out. I've been seeing so many chickens on the different channels. It's really cute. And it's funny how much this has taken off. And it's just really kind of just an adorable pattern at the right time. You really have to give it to the folks at the Knitting Tree LA and the designer of this pattern, of making a pattern that's got some really nice details in shaping and short rows. In fact, it would probably be a great little practice for short rows if somebody was wanting to learn them. And it's on something where you don't have to worry about them being particularly polished. And on garter stitch generally, even with the wrap and turn, it's one of those things where you just don't have to pick up the wraps as you go across. All right, we got to get to this needle and then this one, and then we will do some of the preliminary stuffing. I think. Feel like I've got a little more length here on this side, so we're going to see about, I'll pick up a couple of strands here. Let's see, wait a minute, let's figure out where I was at here. Let's pick this back up. I felt like I formed another stitch on the same side there, so let's pull it out. Get to see this warts and all. I hope this is helpful. And again, it's not something you have to do perfectly. There, grab a couple stitches there, and then I'm just going to grab maybe this one here, and then do a couple there, and then do, I still do feel like that when you attach to one stitch, it gets more distorted. 2 stitches gives you a little more of a firm place to attach to, I think. And I think sometimes, again, depending on what you're doing, like if it's garter stitch that's all one color, and you're just sewing those single bumps together on each side, I think that can work great sometimes, because you don't have to worry about the color contrasting, and that would be for, the same color. Now with something like this, it's somewhat variegated. See, like in this light area, it might be a little more obvious that you've got a different color seaming thread. But even when we looked at the red on the other side, you really couldn't see it that well. Like when you looked at, where is it? There we go. Yeah, you can't really see that there's blue running up there. My worry would be if you did a single bump on each side, that maybe you would, but I don't know that for sure. You can always experiment. And if it doesn't turn out the way you like, you can take it back out and redo it. It's the beauty of knitting in general, is unless you're cutting things up in the process, you can have a redo on something. All right. Pardon me. I picked up a huge bag of stuffing from Joann's I had mentioned on my podcast. And if I think on episode 22 perhaps, and got it on a really good deal from Joann's. And I don't know if it's because of their bankruptcy deal or if it just happened to be on sale. Let's see. But yeah, it's as simple as this. Well, I'm doing this blanket stitch back and forth, drawing it up, but not over, pulling that so that you don't want to basically pull the material, scrunch the material together. You just want to pull it so it's straight, so that this yarn is basically running straight through this seam. Let's take a look here again. All right. I've always enjoyed doing mattress stitch and pulling it up because it does seem like it just looks so awesome when it comes together. Here. There. I'm going to pull this out, and you know what? Maybe we'll just leave this as the opening for now. And I am going to pause this again and get ready to stuff, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. All right, I'm going to start fluffing. I've got my camera a little further back, and so you can see how the seams all look. There, and the tail. There were some loose stitches on the tail, but I'm not really worried about them. And so now I'm going to start taking some of the fluff that I have, and we're gonna, I'm gonna get this sewing up needle. I'm gonna kind of stick this here temporarily, and let's start stuffing this guy. Let's see. All right. This original bag of fluff was some stuff I had bought off of Amazon that was in these vacuum sealed containers. And so it's a little compressed. All right, put that there. And so I feel like this fluff I got from Joann's might be a little better, but we'll see. And if I feel like it's a little clumpy, I'll try to separate it out a little bit. I want to make sure I get pieces up in the tail section. And again, I'm not trying to stuff it so that it feels, you know, like totally solid, but I do want to make sure it gets some fluff all the way out in there. Let's see. All right, that's okay. All right, stuff a little bit into there. And again, folks who are very experienced amigurumi makers may be, again, not happy with what I'm doing here with the fluff. I have no idea. Again, not a very experienced person at stuffing amigurumi and everything, but we'll see how this goes. I'm just trying to fluff it up a little bit from being so in that vacuum sealed container. Let's see, let's take that, stuff that in there and have it look kind of even instead of lumpy bumpy. Let's see, coming into shape there. Got plenty more to go. Whoops, there we go. Let's get this, some of this big part. I'm trying to use up the stuff that was vacuum sealed first, and then I'll go over to the other stuff when necessary. Okay. All right. Let's see, do I need a little bit more up in the neck? Let's see. There, maybe. All right. Let's do a little bit more in here. Pardon me. Okay, I think you're coming together. Let's see, maybe a little bit more. That seems a little lumpy there. Let's try evening that out a little bit. You wonder if how this would work at a place like, was it Build-A-Bear, where they have that thing they just put the bear on and blow it full of fluff. That might be kind of fun. All right, let's see. Get the rest of this in there. Now the question is that enough? And I know folks are watching this and going, no, you need more, or you put too much, or whatever. One of the let's see, maybe a little bit more. And this stuff feels much more even. Okay, we'll put that down in there. Maybe a little bit up here at the back. Even that up a little bit. One side of the head seems a little smaller, maybe. I don't know. Let's push you up in there a little bit. See how that looks. Does that look a little better? Yeah, a little better. Maybe a little more in here. Maybe people who make amigurumis will share this and how not to do this. All right. Oop, I'm losing my fluff. Okay. Oh, let's just toss. I don't need a lot of this, so I'm going to toss it down there. Oops. More stuff is escaping from my table. Let's see. Well, you know what? I think, let me take a look at this. I think it's good enough. What do you think? That looks pretty good there. Stripe looks good. I think the tail might be a little overstuffed. Let's see. Let me put some of this back here. Now, yeah, I think that's probably good enough. So let's see. I'm going to kind of fluff this up a little bit here. See about sealing this little guy up. Let's see. I'm going to use one of those T-pins again. I'm going to do this here. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think this is good. And if I need to, I'll kind of like, I'll grab from the outside and kind of fluff it up if necessary. All right. So now I came out here. That kind of nice thing about it being stuffed is it's almost like there's a little more clarity on where the stitches are now. Uh-oh, I think that is my husband, so I am going to pause this for a minute. All right, we're back to it. He's down in his workshop. The tricky thing is, when I record here, I have to have my office door open, because otherwise Oda will come up and scratch the door. And yeah, so it's so it's hard to keep out the household sounds from here. There we go. Can you see that? I'm going to do that. And then that. That. Then that. It looks like that red is loose on that side, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. All right, let's see how this snugs up. All right. Now, there. There. Let's see where this wants to go. We'll do that there. I'll run out before I get to the end. Ugh. We'll see. I'm trying to get a read on this. Let's see how we'll try that. There, that's looking okay. Let's try holding it this way. I want to make sure this stays in view. Let's try that. All right. I'm going to end up wishing I'd cut this string about 5 inches longer. I don't know if I've got any other tails. Let's take a look at this one here. If necessary, I'll use that other tail. All right. Here. There. Here. And there. Let's snug that up a little more. All right. Let's take a look. There. Snug that up. let's see, they're not that much different than each other in length, what I have left. So I think I'm just gonna go try to stuff that spare strand in there. And we're gonna get the last few of these going. Okay, we're gonna snug it up again there. Now this is getting a little tricky. I want to make sure I'm pulling this actual edge out here. Oh. Let's do that. Oop, oop, oop. Now see, I pulled that and actually gathered it in a little bit. I want to be careful about that. Now, I think this is not looking quite as neat as my first one. Let's see, let's do a final. And again, I feel like I'm pulling it in a little bit here. Let's see. All right. I am going to, oh, I'm probably off screen again. Oh. Okay. Let's see, I think I pulled another strand out while I was pulling this strand out. Let's push that back in there. Okay. Well, I will just snip this off in a moment, but let me see if I can see what I'm showing here and lift this up a little bit. Oops, maybe not. There we go. There, and so yeah, he's a little rounded on the bottom, but I think he sits okay. And I think he's adequately stuffed and looks good to go. So I really, this may have been a long, slow process to watch me do this whole thing, but I hope it was somewhat helpful, and that it gives you some good pointers for doing your own emotional support chicken. And I'll see you on my next regular episode, and enjoy your knits.